For the final time, Oklahoma opened Big 12 play, and they did it in style. A 3-game sweep over Iowa State, a doubleheader last Saturday as Friday's game got moved to Saturday, 1 game on Sunday, 3 wins, 1 shutout, 2-run rules, all part of a day's work for the Oklahoma Sooners. We're going to break down that. What changed for Oklahoma between Game 1 and Game 2 that propelled them through? And why does Patty Gasso feel like Oklahoma's on the right track? We'll talk about all that next here on the AllSooners Softball Show. Welcome in. Ryan Chapman here, back with the AllSooners Softball Show as we carry on. And Big 12 play, as I mentioned earlier, open in style. Oklahoma 3-0 over Iowa State, and they're alone atop the Big 12 standings. Texas went down to Houston, welcomed the Cougars to the conference, went 2-1 though as Houston won the Friday game, actually 6-6 in the 7th inning. Texas comes all the way through, I guess not technically from behind, but Texas puts up a couple runs there in the top of the 7th, wins that contest. Oklahoma State goes down to Waco, wins Game 1 against the Bears, drops Saturday's game, needs to come from behind, down 2-0, puts a couple up or 1 up in the 6th, a couple up in the 7th. Oklahoma State wins, but Oklahoma all alone atop the Big 12 Conference thanks to 3 wins against Iowa State. Game 1, Game 2 on Saturday looked a lot different in how they were played out. Oklahoma wins 4-0 behind Kelly Maxwell's heroics in the first contest of the weekend. It was a complete game shutout for the senior transfer. 8 strikeouts for Kelly Maxwell, and it was a statement for an Oklahoma pitching staff that had given up 2 home runs going into last weekend's opener at Love's Field, combined to only allow 8 home runs, through 5 games that opened Love's Field last weekend. Very uncharacteristic, but Kelly Maxwell credited the work that associate head coach and pitching coach Jen Rocha did all week long to make sure Oklahoma's pitchers were ready to come out firing against the Cyclones.
I would definitely say it was the response from last weekend. We had a really good week in the bullpen with Coach Rocha, and I think it just showed today all that hard work I put in, just being able to go at the hitters and really believe in myself.
A lot different story from Game 1 to Game 2. It was a doubleheader as Friday's game got pushed for weather. Oklahoma's offense, handful of wasted opportunities in Game 1. It was 4-0. Never really looked like it was in doubt, but it wasn't kind of the avalanche, the pile-on, the pass the bat that Oklahoma likes to have offensively. Game 2, that shifted. They took the big 30, 40-minute break as they rake and shake the field, move the fans out, move the fans back in. And Oklahoma just looked like a fully different team. They fell down 2-0 after Nicole May had an uneasy first inning, but then Oklahoma rallied 5 runs in the first, 6 runs in the third. Oklahoma poured it on, and if you looked, like Riley Boone was in the dugout like a mad woman leading all the chants. Jada Coleman was on the front step of the dugout going insane, going nuts for every hit, everything that happened. There was just a different energy, and that was intentional. Patty Gasso talked to us after the 2-game set on Saturday. She had some strong words for her team. She said she was bored, that the style of play was boring. It wasn't Sooner softball. She said that they had a big conversation, and it all amounted in this, the big shift from Game 1 to Game 2.
First game, to be honest, I was telling them, like, this isn't you. This is almost a boring style. This isn't us. And so there was just some conversation about who we have been in the past and where we need to go. And so Game 2 was fun. It seemed like it went by really fast, and I know it was a shorter, 5-inning game, but everybody was invested, and momentum's big in softball. I was talking to these guys a little bit about, when you're 4 years old, you're doing cheers and t-ball, right? That's where you learn, but you're in college and you're still doing the same stuff. Versus baseball, it's just not like that. But I think that creates that energy that a team needs to create momentum and creates force at the plate. It creates all of it. If we can maintain that, it can get a little exhausting, but it's a fun style, and the fans love it, and coaches love it.
That energy shift carried over into Sunday's contest as Oklahoma explodes a 14-1 run rule over Iowa State. Both that second game on Saturday, the Sunday game, 5-inning run rules. Kirsten Deal got the start on Sunday. She was calm, cool, collected. She only had to pitch 3 innings as Patty Gasso wanted to get Peyton Monticelli some innings. She pitched the 4th and the 5th, but it was an absolute power show. Tiare Jennings had a 3-run shot. It was Kinsey Hansen with another 3-run shot. Those were 2 of 6 home runs. But the one that stole the show was a 2-run blast. Sydney Sanders absolutely wallops a softball, puts it over the bleachers in right center field. The shorter bleachers, the one that's 4 rows, not the big double stack bleachers. But it was her 4th home run of the weekend, her 6th home run in the first 10 days of March. And while Sydney Sanders is on an absolute heater, she actually credits it to not getting excited, not getting juiced, but taking a step back and taking a deep breath as she steps into the batter's box.
Just seeing a strike and swinging, honestly, like in my last at bat, I told coach that I was going to swing at the first pitch strike, and I ended up not, but it ended up working out in the end. So just seeing pitches and taking good swings on them. I think I'm just focusing on like playing free, not really worried about any outcomes, just kind of getting in the box and just looking for a pitch to hit, not really thinking too much at all. So it's working out a lot. So.
It wasn't just the weekend against Iowa State. Like I mentioned, Sydney Sanders, 6 home runs, 10 RBIs in the month of March. She really started it last weekend as Love's Field opened up. She started the weekend at a .250 batting average. She's moved it into the high 300s across basically the 5-game set at Love's Field to open the OU tournament, the midweek against Texas A&M Commerce, and those 3 games against Iowa State. It's something that you saw last year, right? Sydney Sanders, a slow start to the season. She came online about midway through the year when Oklahoma made the trip up to Ohio to play Miami of Ohio and Louisville. And then she was a lot better. It wasn't a total, just absolute takeover by any means, but she did end up with 8 home runs after a really, really slow start. Now this year already, 9 home runs a year ago. She already has 8 home runs this year, and it's something that Patty Gasso said she's been brewing, waiting to see for a really long time.
She's been waiting to break out for about a year and a half. I mean, she has had some streaks, but this is what she looked like her freshman year, which made her, I think, she was up for National Freshman Player of the Year. This is what it looks like. It's just a really, some of the swings that you're seeing are just really legitimate swings. And it just doesn't take much for them because the contact and what they have behind their swing is so powerful that, I mean, it just flies.
Sanders, of course, had that huge freshman season. She lost out on the National Freshman of the Year to Jordy Ball a couple of years ago, but 20-plus home runs, and you're really starting to see that quiet confidence. All year long, she's battled really long at-bats to draw walks and things like that, but now the swing is free and loose, and you look at this lineup, Tiare Jennings, her 3-run shot on Sunday snapped a little mini slump. She was 0 for 7 when you go back to the Texas A&M Commerce game and those first 2 games, the Saturday set against Iowa State. She got rolling. Alyssa Brito didn't really need to have a huge home run derby or anything this weekend at Love's Field, but you look at it, if Sanders can roll that through, then suddenly Oklahoma's getting that power back. Jennings, Brito, Hansen, Sanders, if Jada Coleman continues to grow into the season. She's been excellent at getting on base, hitting to contact. Haven't quite seen the absolute just home runs over and over again like we saw a year ago, but you know she has that in her, and suddenly you're starting to stare down a situation again where half of Oklahoma's lineup has this huge, massive power threat, along with what you saw to Riley Boone, which was she can lay down bunts for a single, or she can score up, and she launched a ball out of the park this past week against Iowa State. It was an all-around great showing, and now the challenge for Oklahoma is to keep that momentum rolling, keep that energy up. They'll have a pair of games against Tarleton State on Tuesday before they head out to Lubbock. We'll preview that on Thursday as Oklahoma will take on Texas Tech, their second Big 12 weekend. But part of what made Oklahoma so steady, so good all weekend long was that pitching that we mentioned. It wasn't just Kelly Maxwell. Nicole May settled in and threw a lot better after that first inning against Iowa State. Carly Keeney came in, looked good. Kirsten Deal, Peyton Monticelli, they were both calm, cool, collected all weekend long. And now Kirsten Deal, don't look up, but she had that really bad start in Puerto Vallarta against Long Beach State. She has not given up a run since then. That's almost a 22 inning long, or over 22 innings long scoreless streak for Kirsten Deal. She rebuilt that confidence, and now she's working in it. She's just now pitched maybe 2 outings away from her total number of innings all year long last year as a true freshman. And Kinsey Hansen, the catcher, she has an incredible view of everything that Kirsten Deal does, both on the practice field, but once they step in between those light lines and in the circle on game day. And Hansen was just really proud of all the progress that Kirsten Deal has made since arriving as a true freshman.
One of the most things that I admire about our pitching staff is that their failure, their roller coaster, they adjust and they respond so fast. And I think that they play so well off of one another. Like, they're cohesive, they are one. And I think that that's what makes them so special and so good. When one's not doing well, one comes in and strikes everybody out, and then it'll be reversed the next day. And just to see them bounce off each other, and just the mentality and the locked in and the focus this weekend, it was so much more dominant. And I think that they're starting to feel themselves, they feel the dominance in themselves, and their confidence is starting to grow and grow. And we can see that in the results, but the process of them learning that has been super cool to see.
Like I said, 2 games against Tarleton State on Tuesday. That doubleheader, last little bit of this homestand here before Oklahoma hits the road. They'll head to Lubbock. They'll take on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. That was the spot a year ago where Texas Tech pitched a new pitcher every single inning for Oklahoma. We'll see if the Red Raiders have anything up their sleeve for the Sooners, as they also took a step forward a year ago in the power department. This year, they're hitting home runs again, about 23 home runs through 22 games. That's in the top 30 in college softball, so the pitchers will have to be on point as Oklahoma's offense carries through. But the real question will be, can Oklahoma keep that energy up? Because the way the dugout was humming, the electricity in Game 2 and Game 3, that is what clicked for Oklahoma this past weekend. That is how the Sooners started to look a lot more like the team that's been dominant the last couple of years, as opposed to the team that, as Patty Gasso has said, has done enough to win, but not playing up to their standards. If Oklahoma can keep that momentum rolling, it should be a great month of March for the Sooners, and we'll find out on Tuesday if that continues. We'll be back here with the AllSooners Softball Show next Thursday. A little bit of recap of the Tarleton State doubleheader, but mostly it'll be eyes forward ahead to Texas Tech, what everything Oklahoma is going to see down in Lubbock as the Sooners take on the Red Raiders in the second Big 12 series of the season. But for everybody at AllSooners.com, John Hoover, Randall Sweet, Bryce McInnes, Ross Lovelace, I'm Ryan Chapman. As always, All Sooners is the place to be. Spring ball, spring practice fired up. Oklahoma got the pads on Monday. We'll have a ton of content all throughout spring football at AllSooners.com. You're going to have men's and women's tournament action as the women wrapped up play in Kansas City with their loss to Iowa State. They now await where they're headed on Selection Sunday in the women's NCAA tournament. The men, they have a Wednesday date with TCU. We'll see if they can continue to either win and roll through, or if they will be done on Wednesday awaiting their fate on Selection Sunday. AllSooners.com is the place to be for all of that. And as always, every single video, every single game recap, my Sunday wraps for the softball squad, everything that happens every weekend can be found at AllSooners.com. But until Thursday on the AllSooners Softball Show, we'll talk to you then.